South African Airways Flight 295 is cruising over the Indian Ocean on its way from Taiwan's Chiang Kai-shek Airport to South Africa's Johannesburg Airport via the island of Mauritius. The aircraft is a Boeing 747-200B Combi, registered ZS-SAS, and nicknamed Helderberg. On board the flight deck is 49-year-old Captain Dawi Uys, 36-year-old First Officer David Atwell, and 45-year-old Flight Engineer Guesep Belagarda. There is also a relief First Officer, 37-year-old Geoffrey Burchell, and a 34-year-old relief Flight Engineer, Alan Daniel. The Combi is very unique as it can accommodate flexible quantities of passengers and cargo, with passengers in the front and cargo at the back. There is a bulkhead that can be adjusted between the passenger cabin and the cargo deck. About 200 miles from Mauritius, the crew receive a fire alarm from the Combi cargo deck on the main deck behind the passenger cabin. By the time the cabin crew gets to it to fight the fire, it is raging. The crew are not able to put out the fire, and so the captain calls Mauritius and asks to come to the airport. It is already a scheduled stop, but smoke is now filling the cabin as the fire is producing thick smoke filling the cabin. The captain decides to make an emergency descent to 14,000 feet to clear smoke from the cabin. He will do a rare procedure called open the doors, where the doors are cracked mid-flight, and to let smoke out of the cabin. But he first must get down to 14,000 feet to an altitude where passengers can breathe safely. The aircraft is put in a steep dive, as emergency descents are very steep. As all this is happening, electrics begin to fail on the plane as the fire burns through the wires. The captain is left with only basic instruments to fly by. Captain finally gets the aircraft down to 14,000 feet, and one of the doors is opened, which helps to clear smoke from the aircraft. However, Mauritius is still 100 miles away, and the aircraft continues on its journey. At about 4:08 in the morning, the aircraft disappears from radar screens in Mauritius. It is thought that as the fire burned through the structure of the aircraft, the tail broke off, causing an uncontrolled descent. With no tail, the aircraft eventually crashed into the ocean. No one survived. In the investigation that followed, they figured out that the Combi, Boeing 747 Combi, had very bad firefighting. Was very bad for firefighting. Very crowded in the cargo hold, not enough firefighting equipment on board, and the tests that Boeing had run only included lighting a bale of tobacco leaves in a test area, and the fire on the Helderberg was a lot more worse, where there was pallets of cargo burning, not just a bale of leaves. They never did figure out what was in the cargo that caused the fire, as the wreck was too deep to bring up to the surface. After this accident, South African Airways discontinued the use of the Combi version as they thought it was unsafe.